That's me, Joel. I don't have a Twitter handle. I need to get with the times. But we do have the 826LA Twitter handle, which you can easily reach me at. And the topic is money, which, man, that's one of the things I fear the most. I think, money is doing this nonprofit work. It's certainly the thing that you have to hustle to make it work. And there's we try to, like John said, we try to find creative ways to do that, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But I'll tell you a little bit about myself as well before we get into the 826 stuff. I was a teacher for many years, so I often quoted FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and I thought this was I wasn't looking through my books or my library to get this stuff. I just went online and looked for cool money quotes, and I found this. So I'm not, the test of our progress is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much. It is whether we provide enough for those who have too little. It's been something I don't know. I don't know where the passion to support those who don't have much was born in me, but it's something that's been driving me for a long time now. And I've always wanted to do as much as I can to help those in need. And and that's what we do with 826LA. We target communities and young people who can't afford the kind of services we can provide for free, and tutoring and writing and all that, and I'll tell you more about that. But also we have to let Groucho Marx tell us a little bit of his wisdom. While money can't buy happiness, it certainly lets you choose your own form of misery, which is the truth. And I think, sometimes, I think I've met people who are happier who don't have much money. And so anyway, a little bit about my story. I was born in Queens, New York. This is a picture of my where I was born, not where I was born, but where I grew up in Astoria, Queens. That would be an interesting story to tell you. That I was born on that street corner. Not going to make you cry today, I don't think. But that's the building. I just took that picture recently. We went back. I hadn't been back to where I'd grown up, and it was amazing to go back because there were people there who were still living there from when I was growing up, and I remember, I remembered them, and they, obviously remember me, and we had a great time. My family came. This is my mom and dad, by the way. They came from, and they're about as old as I am now. And this is, I won't tell you how old I am, but I don't really care. But anyway, they came from. My dad's from Spain. My mom's from Cuba. And my mom left Cuba during the Castro regime, and she was able to go to Spain, where she met my dad, and they got married, and they came to the U.S. in the 70s, and were connected to Astoria through a church. Actually, they were very religious, and they had a connection to a church there, and were able to settle in and make it happen, but came with virtually nothing, and really worked their way up. My dad was a watchmaker all his life. That's what he would do, and my mom was a secretary, bilingual secretary, and they were working folks, and all throughout my life, seeing them working full time and keeping things going for me was a big thing. And I grew up. We moved from New York to Sarasota, Florida, for like 2 months. I couldn't hack it because the allergies were terrible and there was no work. So then we moved to New Jersey, where I grew up. This is actually a picture in New Jersey, in Elizabeth, New Jersey. If you're familiar with Newark, you were flown into Newark. Elizabeth is right next door. And that's where I grew up. And I was really just loved the idea of money. And I don't want to lose the theme, money, because it's important I stick to the money. And that's what I'm getting at, by the way. I always had this feeling that I wanted to have money. We didn't have much, and I always saw folks who seemed to have, I don't know, it seemed like they were having more fun because they had more money and they had all these cool things. And I was kind of always pushing for that, and so I wanted a job early on, and I was 12, 13, saying I got to go out and work. And where we grew up, there wasn't grass, I couldn't go mow lawns. There was no real, newspapers weren't being, I guess they were being delivered, but I don't think people really subscribed for newspapers where we lived. So we knew a friend of the family who was a guy who made socks. And he had a little factory in Elizabeth, and he used to make socks. And he didn't have a way to distribute the socks, so he hired me to go to a gas station in Newark, New Jersey, and sell socks. I peddled socks at a gas station. That was my first career, my jump into the world of money. And I did pretty good. I mean, I got mugged a few times, actually. It was, a little chubby kid walking around selling socks was just, it's too easy to pluck him out and take his money. But I learned a lot of lessons, and I learned how to get out there and be creative and figure out ways to sell things. But it was just an opportunity for me to my first venture to money. I'm going to fast forward. I also had moved to the West. I came west because I thought there's no way I could do some of the things I wanted to do on the East Coast. There was no space, no place to be loud and crazy. So I said I'm going to go west and hopefully be a rock star or something. And went west and actually was still in school, so I was studious and trying to finish my BA, but I went to Santa Rosa, California, and met some great folks up there, other artists and musicians, started a band. We thought that was going to be my thing. Yes, I was going to be a musician. That didn't work out. I'm sure there's a lot of musicians in here who have had the same thing happen to them. I also did some solo stuff. I also, writing has always been a part of my life. Writing I've done in different ways. I started a music blog, which is now defunct. It's kind of every once in a while I'll pop something in there, but I was doing a lot of writing to stay in touch with the music world and to know what was happening and promote it. I saw that as an opportunity, and this was in the early days also when music blogs were starting to get kind of interesting. Mine didn't get as much attention. I got some folks to send me free CDs and tickets to shows, and I thought, wow, this could be the thing. But that sort of wasn't getting me anywhere. And so I I got married, moved to San Francisco, and I became a teacher. They actually got into teaching in an interesting way. I didn't do it like most people do, where you get a credential and you then start teaching. They needed a lot of bilingual Spanish speakers, and so I was able to get an internship credentialing program. So I took some classes at night while I taught during the day, and that was intense. I mean, I walked into an inner city classroom in San Francisco, average class size about 33 students, to some were 40. And I came in with, bilingual, expecting to speak Spanish more, and one of my bilingual classes was actually 80% Chinese, a few folks from Kazakhstan. It was just unbelievable, but we made it work, and it was some of the most unbelievable stuff I did. I taught for 8 years, loved every minute of it. It was frustrating, but it was some of the most amazing work I ever did, and got to meet some great students who now are my friends on Facebook, and some of them are doing things that, I'm not totally crazy about, but hey, they're happy. But teaching, and I had notes, by the way, and I'm not going to use my notes, but first day of teaching, I'll tell you, I was so nervous, and my wife will attest to this, but I was so nervous that I was in front of the class, and I really had the class engaged, and I was talking. I was a history teacher, and I was getting really psyched about something, and I was so nervous that I bit my lip, and blood started streaming down my thing. And I was like, I didn't realize that was happening, but the students were really engaged, and I was like, you know what I mean, and social justice and all this, and then I realized later it was because I was bleeding all over myself, and the students were listening. But I kept history alive. Writing was an important part of the classroom. I always had writing projects at the beginning to just warm the kids up and to get them to think about the topics we were talking about. We did this really cool thing. Blogging was just beginning to become a thing this is like in the early 2000s, when blogging was just kind of starting to go up, and we started this really cool project with a school in Maine in a rural community, and we got my inner city kids to connect with these other folks across the country using a blog, and they were the ones generating content. This is before Facebook, and kids were just sharing ideas, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. Just writing can really connect communities that don't know about each other, and it was just a fascinating experience to be able to be a part of that. And then 826 came into my life. I mean, I was, I'd been teaching and heard about this organization that had just opened up in San Francisco, and there'd been this pirate store, and there was the author Dave Eggers, who I really didn't know at the time, and teacher Nineveh Caligari, who they'd started this project. And the way I found out about it, and it actually relates to money, we were driving, my wife and I were driving, and she had talked about this show she'd heard on the NPR and KQED, was Dave Eggers being interviewed, and how he gave all of his money away to start this charity, and how he was really gung-ho about serving inner city kids. And I was like, what? He gives away all his money? What? That's amazing to me. And so I learned more about them and got involved. Some of the first projects 826 did was at our school, Galileo High School, where I taught, and they'd bring their volunteers in, and we would, imagine a class of 40. I don't know if you guys were in high school when you had a class of 40 and you would assign a writing project, writing assignment, you get 40 papers back, you try to give that feedback, but it's impossible to really give each student that undivided attention. So I would put my desk outside and have a one-to-one with the student while the rest of the class would go crazy. But Valencia brought in volunteers who were able to come in and break that ratio down, where I could put one volunteer, sometimes 1-to-1 and sometimes 1-to-3, and we'd go down to the cafeteria and the kids would get real feedback, and from professional writers and lawyers and creative artists and folks who could come in and give them that kind of undivided attention. So that really impressed me and blew me away. Nineveh Caligari, who was the teacher of the co-founding team of 826 with Dave Eggers, really a huge mentor and supporter who was knew what it meant to help teachers. And focusing on teachers really impressed me, because not many people thought about teachers. And we did our work in the classroom, sometimes closed doors, and that was it. But this organization really thought about kids and teachers and ways to support them, and I was just blown away by that. I had then, a few years into that, I was actually the first teacher of the month for 826 Valencia that they awarded, and I got to know the founders pretty well. And after a while they said, are you interested in maybe helping us? We're expanding, we're going to be opening more branches across the country. And I said, I don't know, I got a pretty sweet gig here, but this sounds like an amazing opportunity. I don't know what it means to work in a nonprofit. I have a job that has a steady paycheck. It's not much, but at least I know, there's a retirement thing and all this. So no, this is an opportunity. And I said, all right, well, I'll check it out. And I did. I jumped in and I worked alongside Nineveh and Dave to do the National, 826 National. I was a director of programs there for 2 years and was a part of opening the Boston chapter that we have out there. And it has the Boston Bigfoot Institute there, which is very sciencey and very cool. And we developed evaluation systems for the chapters so that we could really show how our work was making progress. One of the cool projects I got to work on was Dave on the TED Prize, which he got that year, which I think we found out a lot of our volunteers hear about us through this TED Talk that Dave gave. And we launched this project called Once Upon a School that was a way to collect stories from folks who are doing things all over the world that were good lessons to be able to repeat and show. It was just an amazing time. I got to also figure out that volunteerism is just such an amazing thing, such an amazing movement in this country. By visiting different chapters across the country, I was able to see similar people who really just wanted to give back and be a part of something. And it just really impressed me how much was the potential of what 826 could do. But I also, at heart, was a person who really liked to be in a local place and see how something could really impact one community. And so I moved to Los Angeles. We were looking for a director here, and I decided, I would like to do that. And I came down, and there'd already been, we had just moved into the location you're sitting in right now. This is the Echo Park Time Travel Mart. We'd actually started in Venice, in the old, I don't know if you guys know Venice, but there's an old police station there, decommissioned police station called the Spark Building, and we had a space there at first, but then we needed just to have the storefront model, so we moved out here, set this up. And just recently, we moved our Venice location to Mar Vista, down the street, where most of our students and volunteers lived. And we opened another storefront there, the Time Travel Mart. And so, if you don't know about us, we focus on writing, is really at the core. Our mission is to support students from the ages of 6 to 18 with their creative and expository writing skills. And we do this through after-school tutoring. We do this with workshops on evenings and weekends. We have field trips where classes come to us. They come to the Time Travel Mart, and they will write a book in up to 2.5 hours. The best one is storytelling and bookmaking, where we have a cranky editor that lives upstairs. It's either Mr. or Mrs. Barnacle, depending on who's available that day. And Mrs. Barnacle's a lot nicer. She bakes cookies usually, and it's really, really sweet. Mr. Barnacle is just super cranky. But the kids never see Mr. Barnacle and Mrs. Barnacle. They just hear the voice, and they come in, these little kids come in, and they hear this voice that demands that they produce 25 books before they go, or how many of the students come. And if they don't, they will all be fired. And it's intense, I tell you. And these kids work, and they work. They don't want to get fired. I mean, they were never hired, but they don't want to get fired. So the magic works. And then we have amazing illustrators who come, like Sam, one of our amazing illustrators who's here, and who draw and create I don't know how you do it, but the kids come up with the most interesting characters. We really ask them to not, cliches are not okay. We want an original story. And so they really learn about the elements of storytelling in this 2-hour period. Field trips so that's one thing, and they each leave with their own little book that's bound, and they have their author's bio on the back and everything, and they go home and they get to show off it's part of the project-based learning model that we believe in, that students should be a part of a process that then at the end they have something to show. So publishing runs through everything we do. And then the other part of our programs is in-school support, where we go into classrooms across the city and work in the classrooms, bring our volunteers in and support the one-on-one process in those classrooms. So last year we served over 10,000 kids here in Los Angeles. We've become the largest chapter of all the 826s across the nation, and the need is just immense here. So, I mean, we have to continue to grow, and we need more volunteers, so please, if you can, get involved. And the Time Travel March. A lot of you, I know I have a lot of designers and artists here. So the idea for the storefront, the Pirate Store, which started in San Francisco, the space that they got, Dave found a space that was actually it was an old gym that was zoned for retail. And folks were taking the place apart to make it into this tutoring center. And somebody had remarked that it looked like the inside of a pirate ship. And so down the line, they created this storefront, and they didn't think about it as a sort of a money-making component. People were leaving money for stuff that they liked books, and they would leave stuff. And so this model sort of evolved, and it became the Pirate Store, which is the most amazing pirate store in all of San Francisco. The best pirate store, I should say, in all of San Francisco. And so New York caught on. New York opened a superhero store. We have in Chicago, we have the Boring Store, which is called the Boring Store because it's a spy shop, and we don't want to let people know that we're really selling the back. The Museum of Unnatural History opened in DC recently. But LA, I mean, time travelers, I mean, that's what happens here. I mean, at least, But Mac Barnett, who's a children's author now, was a director here before. Him and his friend John Korn conceptualized a lot of these ideas and products that you see here. We had Stefan Butcher, if you know him. He's been an amazing supporter of ours and does a lot of our posters and things. And he designed a lot of these products, from woolly mammoth meat, which you can't do without if you miss that taste. We have a Viking odorant, so you can smell like, toenail scent is my favorite. But the idea is really just a fun thing where, here we have the storefront. A lot of people don't even know what's back here. I mean, you guys were confused. Somebody tell me, what is this? Where are we? And sometimes that's a problem, but generally it's worked out for us. But the storefront, people will pass by, they'll come in, they'll check it out. They start to see that, people actually come in thinking they can buy cigarettes and things here. And we're like, sorry, we're a time travel store. We don't have phone cards either, sorry. We did try to actually, since there is a laundromat down the street, we decided to actually carry detergent, which nobody's been buying yet. But it's from 1922, so it's not a really useful. But really the idea is to connect with the community, and people come through and they check it out, and then they come to this refrigerator right here where you can see through. And that's called our specialties refrigerator. It's between the robot milk and the dinosaur eggs. And they see what's going on in the back, and then they see there's books, there's publications, and that's how we hook them. And then we talk to them about volunteering and who we are and what we're about. And it's become a major way for us not only to sell, everything we sell there pays for this, but it also becomes a way for us to get volunteers involved and young people. And by the way, we have more demand than we can serve at this point as far as our center. This is not a big space. Both Mar Vista and Echo Park are packed with kids, and we have waiting lists for some of our projects. But there's always need of volunteers, obviously, and in-school support is ongoing. But it's become a way for us to really generate interest, and designers are a major part of this. I mean, we go hand in hand with what we do is volunteering doesn't just mean coming in and working with the kids, but it could be helping us develop a new product or something that'll help us attract attention. One of those volunteers, Amy Martin, a good friend of ours, I don't know if you're familiar with her work, but she was a volunteer here early on, and worked with Mac Barnett and John Korn on coming up with a series of posters. We were thinking of something Works Progress Administration, WPA style things. And there are two series of posters that she created that were really fun and helped us raise a nice chunk of money to help support our programs through the store. I mean, they caught it in the blogs and kind of became a pretty big thing for us. Yeah, fire good, but also bad. And so folks come through the store to check out these types of products that are also available online, of course. The thing that we're about is writing. And we don't want to produce books that are just, little things. We believe in the book as an object that's beautiful and something that kids are going to want to keep and that they're going to love. And so we've put a lot of energy and work into that sort of thing too. I mean, the writing, we have 2 projects that we do: a Young Authors Book Project, where we will spend up to 4 months in a school working with students to write draft after draft until they're ready to publish their pieces. And then we'll do an editorial board phase where students get to choose design options. They work with real designers and make decisions about design. They make decisions about how the book should be laid out, introductions, all that kind of stuff. This is with Dorsey High School in South LA. And we try to get an interesting person to write a foreword. We had Alice Waters write the foreword for this. And this book is about food. Although some of the stories are like about hanging out the Jack in the Box, or they're not really about organic, eating and good healthy stuff, but it's really about how food brings people together. Sheep Can't Fly, which was also Amy Martin design. Father Greg Boyle, if you're not familiar with Homeboy Industries down the street, an amazing organization. He wrote the foreword for this, and we worked with Garfield High School. Stand and Deliver was filmed. And those movies kind of give you this impression of a school that's not approachable. It's completely not true at all. All these schools in this district, they are dying to have folks come in and connect with the young people. And the news sometimes makes it seem like they're these very dangerous zones. And yes, there are certainly things in some places, but these are places where it needs more of the community to connect with them. And so we did a book with them. We did one. Paul Feig did the forward for this one that we did last year. And then we do chapbooks, which we make in-house. And by the way, these bigger books, which we're doing our 10th this year, we distribute those nationally. And so they're sold all over the country. They're on Amazon. So the kids, in a matter of months, become published authors. And that really makes some of our volunteers jealous because they've been, think about it. We got folks who've been working on like a novel for like the last 20 years. And here's a kid in like 3 months, they got a book. And they're out there, But, it's all really in this project-based learning model. And so we have also chapbooks that we do in-house, and we're really trying to take the design level up on those. This was a really popular one based on the Smiths, and a lot of our kids were really into the Smiths, something I wasn't really aware of, but it's this whole and they wrote pieces about that. And so back to the theme of money, I thought I would share with you, this is a book we did last year on the theme of money. Then I will build a pool of money and dive into it. Obviously, the perception of money that children have, which was my own, is always something great to capture and to keep alive. And so this is Jennifer Lopez right here, the Jennifer Lopez. She wrote a piece here, Making Money. I will make a whole lot of money by the time I grow up. I can work, and that is how I can make a whole lot of money, by working all day and every day. That way, I can buy a car, a house, and all the things I want for myself. I will hide all of this money in my safe. Only I will have the key to my safe. When I need money, I will take it out of my safe. I plan on working at a bank to earn this money. Talk about a kid who knows what's happening, and understands that you work at the banks, that's where the money is, but you don't keep your money in the bank. Genuine stuff. Jalissa Lopez writes, I will make money by selling lemonade and coffee and bread. I will get it from my house. Thanks, Mom. They will give the money to me because the grocery store is far away. My lemonade is fat-free, and my coffee doesn't have that much sugar. I will make $100 in a week. Good luck, Jalissa. So we try, every month we'll do a different theme on our books, and we get the kids to write on all sorts of different fun topics. And some of my favorite stuff are lists that they create, survival lists and all the things they come up with. But we try to make writing fun. In school a lot of times, there's writing that we support as well, obviously, which is expository writing and the things that they have to do. But when they come through these doors, they realize this is a place that does school stuff, but it doesn't feel like school. And so we're able to sort of break it down and make it a fun, engaging environment. And it's amazing to me, as a teacher, kids couldn't wait to get out of my classroom. To think that kids are getting out of a classroom and then coming into a place like this to do more schoolwork blows my mind. But they do, and they come and they make connections with the adults who are here, and it's fun. We don't have a very strict sort of way of doing things, but we definitely, kids get work done, and they engage with adults, and they learn from each other, and it's a good environment for creativity, and it breaks it down. It makes writing fun. I think a lot of kids fear writing because it seems like a homework assignment, and if you make it enjoyable and creative, then hopefully it'll become a part of their lives. And eventually, I mean, writing is a way how we can really form our thoughts and our thinking, and it'll help them become better learners, better communicators, and hopefully, better members of society down the line. One of the other projects we did, which I was very excited, I was able to bring some of that music stuff in. We worked, Neil Shields, you guys know Origami Records down the street, great vinyl shop. It was Christina Galante, who was here with us for some years. We put this project together where we would do this music workshop where kids would write. We can do any kind of workshop that involves writing. We've done writing for your pet, where you write to animals. You don't want to lose their attention, so you don't use certain words that might distract them, like food, or especially with dogs, you don't want to talk about food. But we did the kids, the Submarines, the band The Submarines came by, and they led this workshop, and the kids wrote songs. We had amazing volunteers come in with their guitars and instruments, and students wrote these great songs that they recorded and performed. And we had a little fundraiser around that. But then I said, let's call some of the people that we know that support us and ask them if they'll cover some of these songs. We shot an email to Fiona Apple, and she was like, "This is an awesome idea." Great, and then we got She and Him, and we got a lot of our supporters, the Cold War Kids, and Tim and Eric did a wacky tune. And they took these songs and created this album. And since we have a time travel Mart, we did it in vinyl and in CD, and it's also online. And it became a really cool thing for us. And just this past few months ago, we were able to, Judd Apatow is one of our supporters as well. One of the songs, the Fiona Apple track, actually got into his movie, This Is 40. And as a result, we were able to give the students scholarships. And so we honored them last week. We were here with their families, and they were just blown away by that whole process. And the fact that they were on the movie, on the credits and everything, just gave them a real boost to think, wow, I can, and I kept putting that through to them. It's like, look, if you work hard, you can do these things, this can happen. I think they're really impressed with the check, and like, whoa. But I think it'll sink in eventually. But this is another fundraising opportunity for us. This became a way also for us to help generate funds in a creative, fun way. Other things that we're known for are some of our wacky events that we do. These are the peer-to-peer fundraising things that we do. We did this a few years ago, Spelling Bee for Cheaters. Cheating has become a part of our model somehow. It's a way that we get adults to, we didn't want to do it in a way that would stress people out, so we decided to throw cheats in there. One of the cheats was like you can look through a dictionary to spell the word, but you'd have to we give them a big, heavy dictionary and then have to sort of find the word. And luckily through celebrity support as well, we've been able to have these successful events. We had, Diana Agron from Glee was involved, Jimmy Kimmel came out to this, Spike Jonze, Dave Eggers was there, Lorraine Newman, and actually Diana Agron actually won the thing at the end, and they kept giving her really easy words. I don't feel that was fair. The folks from the 25th annual Putnam Counting Spelling Bee, it's the Broadway show, they were the folks, they live here in Los Angeles and helped put this together for us. Just this last year, we did a ping pong tournament. Eli Horowitz from McSweeney's did a ping pong book, and he said, let's do something in LA with this. And some of the other cities had done these ping pong tournaments, so we decided to make it into a fundraiser. We did it at the Echoplex. Miranda July came out and played, and Spike Jonze, and we were able to raise some significant money from both of these events to help us pay for our services. And really what makes these things work and fun is that we try to keep them really fun, but we also rely on volunteers and community folks to reach out to their groups to hopefully help raise some money and then bring awareness and help us get the message out there about what we do. We've also done some pretty outlandish events with Judd Apatow, who's one of our advisory board members who's been a huge supporter of ours. He's the reason we have this space right here. We call this sometimes the house that Judd built because of the money that he was able to raise. This was the event we did some years back. This is before Seth Rogen actually, well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, but this is before the movies that we are more familiar with him. But Judd put this event on with Dave Eggers and had an insane amount of celebrities come out. It was sort of a gala type of event, which a lot of nonprofits have, but this one was a little different, where it was sort of the same price of a gala, but when people came at the tables, they were served Kentucky Fried Chicken, There were bottles of Red Bull and vodka on the tables. And it was kind of just this mock gala sort of thing, and it worked. It helped us raise, over $200,000, which was what made us move into this space and build it out and make it happen here. And Judd has been able to do great events. Just last year, we did another event with him where he teamed up with John Bryan, and we had, it was an insane cast: Peter Frampton, Ray Romano, Pee Wee Herman, Bob Newhart, who stole the show, Colin Quinn, and RZA. And RZA came out hardcore doing his thing, but again, we were able to get a lot of backing, and so but we didn't do your typical sort of sit-down chicken dinner kind of thing, which a lot of nonprofits, we have to do these events to help us raise money. We're able to, this is a different model where we're able to do sort of more of a show, and we've been really lucky and fortunate to have this kind of support. I mean, we realize how fortunate we are. And so that's a little bit about 826, but really at the core, what I'll leave you with at the end of this talk is the children and what we're here about and what we do and why we're here is to serve the young people who, a lot of young kids in these communities grow up, they don't have books read to them, before they go to sleep at night. They don't grow up with maybe some of the tools that some of us were lucky enough to have growing up, and the support systems. And we're trying to provide services that are free, that are equal in value to what a family who could afford to send a child to get tutored gets. And really it's a matter of helping communities that have been left behind. And we want to continue offering these services. And also one thing I would say too, the staff who work in 826s all over the country and here, they don't, this isn't a place where you come to make a lot of money or make a fortune, a career. It's a place where you come because you love it. It makes sense. It hits a certain place in your heart. And so, I'm lucky to be able to run an organization that has that at the core. And it really does attract good people. And we're always looking for more good people. And I see a lot of good people in this audience today. Yeah, it's really about the kids and getting this kind of mention. I love coming here and expressing myself through writing. And we hope that we can do that for a lot more kids these years in the future as well. So thank you very much. I hope that tells the story.